Alright, so this is going to be a prediction video. No prophecies from friends, no nothing schizo like that, just a raw autistic prediction of Avatar 3, Fire, Ash and Fire, and so on. Now, rumor has it that there's going to be evil Navi, or blue monkeys, in it. And basically, here's my set of predictions. The bad Navi are the ones who want to kick the humans terraforming and it migrating onto the planet off-world. The message has shifted since no one cares about colonialism of Africa since it stopped ages ago, and now everyone's talking about it in Europe and North America's case. The message, trademark TM, has to shift to quote-unquote maybe being colonized isn't so bad. Quote, enough foreigners have invaded you, so now you aren't allowed to kick them out of your place, end quote. Also, if Ash and Fire gains any social traction whatsoever, basically, you can bet with evil Navi being, quote, kick the immigrants all out, end quote, there's going to be memery or memes about how human civilized races have a manifest destiny to take over the savage barbarians as the quote-unquote real message of the third Avatar film. All this, I guess, based on seeing things before and on experiencing these kinds of things before, and that third Avatar movie has evil Navi, or blue monkey people, knowing James Cameron's politics slightly or a little, not very much. And there'll be very deep, insightful, and engaging commentary, blah, 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 about how the Na'vi represent the native European and North American rooted in their traditions and culture and history. I think my brain broke. I'm predicting things from a bunch of people into the future like it's inevitable. Yeah, so someone said, it's not your fault. Leftist media is very predictable. I said, yeah, so's the right wing in some ways. Also of note is some will talk about the duality of man and the return to primitive forms of thinking/existence, coupled with the inevitable change of progress and the soullessness of modernity versus the savagery of the past. So basically, it's all formalized. All the usual actors are gonna come out and think they have original thoughts and all that sort of jazz. But it's going to play out like that, I bet. I'm not entirely sure, but, I had a sort of inspirational fit listening to One Last Laugh Encore Edition from Endless Taverns about Segarak or Chegarak or Kegarak, the Laughing God. And ever since then, tonight, I've been manic and posting diss tracks of a rhyming poetic nature, and my autism is sparking overdrive, and this seems like a revelation from God almost. It's so like, oh, that's what's going on, kind of. So, yeah, you'll find a lot of that stuff going on, basically, and it's basically the rehashing old ground for a lot of people and so on, and it's like, but it's going to be like this bland sort of, it's sort of like a bland sort of colonialism for thee, but not on me and my people kind of situation, where when the Na'vi are predominantly thought of as the Africans or South Americans or Asians, colonialism is bad, but once people in the Gestalt focus on the native Europeans and North Americans and their experiences with colonization, then suddenly the message of the entire thing has to shift towards, oh, maybe we should just invite the foreigners in and, let them terraform or change our society or change our planet or whatever, in the Navi's case, or society in the country's cases. And just let everyone in who wants in, except for like 1% of the population that are noticeably evil because they're intolerant. And we the only thing we can't tolerate is intolerance. Yeah. And of course the bad human is the one that represents the species the most. Quaritch, who is focused, if you remember, on the first movie's plot on unobtainium, because that guarantees the species survival for the entire planet and its spacefaring techniques. So it's yeah, but it'll get I want to say twisted by the right wing if they latch onto it at all. That the evil Navi are the ones that are nationalistic of their own people in the third world and don't want to be colonized by the white man. Yeah, so it's all like step by step process, step by step painting here, as far as I can tell. Um, yeah, and you'll just see this kind of stuff roll out, and it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, you know. I just got this this fit of insight into it, and it's like, yeah, I think that's how it's going to play out. I don't know anything about the movie other than there's Evil Navi and James Cameron's directing the movie, and the current zeitgeist a little bit. But I think that's what's going to happen. And the Navi will switch coding from third world barbarians resisting the white man colonization attempts to the white man resisting colonization attempts by the third world. And you can probably you'll probably see a lot more diverse people, diverse casting TM in the humans side of things. Because, of course, multiculturalism is the imperialist force, and they technologically advanced and pacified as opposed to savage, rootless progressive as opposed to um, rooted in history, tradition, and culture, right winger, and it'll switch coding in that direction to represent the white man as the Navi finally, and the brown man as the human, as it makes its switch in framing of the situation. So once humans are multicultural, colonization of a native homeland, a species or a race or peoples is okay and tolerable and satisfactory and acceptable. But before, when it was all white humans, you know, you had to resist and defend your homeland and destroy all the humans possible and so on. With exception to the good ones, quote unquote, that do exactly what you want them to do and betray their own people. You know, because that was like NGO coded and so on with UN blue helmets. And of course, the evil white man was behind the corporate predation of the Africans and the military colonization of the Africans. And all that messaging will get put to the sideline to maybe colonization of our people isn't so bad, fellow Navi right-wingers of Europe. And I might still have some corporations bad kind of messaging still. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a socialist economy alternative to the corporations preying on Mother Nature and so on, snuck into this whole mix as well on top of it, as like a subplot or like a half the plot or something like that, you know. So it's really the secret corporation fault doing all of it, along with the, it just kind of, yeah. And of course, the evil corporation is making the Na'vi fight for their homelands against the Navi's will. And the good humans are all diverse, and they're the ones that want to make peace, even though they're trespassing on Na'vi homeland. And the bad Na'vi want to kick them all out altogether. And of course, you're going to have to make exceptions and allowances for the humans to terraform your planet, transform your society, in other words. Because they just deserve a place to live, fleeing the poverty of Earth under capitalism, or the country under imperialism of the United States. And it's just going to roll like that a bit. Honestly, I don't know what to make of anything of this. It's just my guess. I'm going to post this on Twitter, hopefully get some traction, maybe get some views. And, let people remember this. And if you like my prediction and it's accurate, then come back to my channel, I guess. And if I made a mistake, whoops. But I'm basing this on nothing more than basically knowing a slight bit of James Cameron's politics, the general trend of discourse over the last few years in woke and anti-woke right-wing leftism things, and a lot of that sort of content slop of like, oh my god, this is the most deep thing ever, content deep dive, iceberg explain kind of stuff that I've grown really tired of, because it's all like obsessive about small things as if this one particular thing is the most important thing ever, when it's so bereft of any soul or like originality or like nuance or subtlety or art. And it's like watching a cult form, as opposed to a philosophy or worldview or religion that is deep, because these people make their entire worldviews around fiction, and like, it's shallow fiction in a sense. There's no ambiguity or nuance, even if they try and say they will make it, because there's no specific points to their symbols, I guess, is what you might call them, or gestalts on the specific points. So like, why is a troll and why is an orc an orc? In Lord of the Rings. Why is a dwarf a dwarf? Why is an elf an elf? Why is a hobbit a hobbit? Why is a man a man? Like, those specifics flesh out why Tolkien is great, because he deals with the complexities and nuance of the human condition, but he's more in tune with the details being focused on in his crafted narrative, and the nuance between the various elements, with mankind specifically as the sort of can go off in any direction, at least temporarily in some ways. And Hobbits is kind of that too. And then there's Gimli and Legolas, and they're positive tropes and details, but you have Faramir and Boromir, for instance, as details counterparts. One falls to the ring, but is more attributed to, or he's got more attributed good qualities of a man, and Faramir is just humble, so he doesn't fall to the ring and rejects it from the beginning, which is why he doesn't fall to it, because he never lets himself get tempted, because he rejects it from the beginning. Frodo and Gollum's duality, Sam and Gollum's duality in their service to Frodo. Gandalf the White versus the Nazgul, or the Balrog. Theoden versus Aragorn versus Boromir, or Denethor, one or the other, both maybe, of those last two. Tom Bombadil versus Sauron, you know, counterparts, details, specifics. Lots of little details that add up, not like a sloppy sort of broad brushstroke of like a conventional trope trying to be deep and edgy and nuanced when there's no intricate details that actually represent something specific and relevant to the plot, basically. So, like, for instance, the idea in Warhammer 40,000 of Segarak or Kegarak or Chegarak or whatever as the laughing god, big on pulling the strings of fate for a big joke against the Prince of Excess, Slanesh, who devours souls with debauchery as his lure, and the fine line between art, true art, and pornography. You know, the whole tasteful nudity statement. And how laughter is one of those things that actually undermines the excesses of degenerate pleasure seeking through shame, and humbling the prideful who play mental gymnastics like Zinch or something, or scheme with their pride in sort of driving them. You know, like that kind of thing makes him a convincing character for me. And the relationships with Zinch and Slanesh. In both the ecstatic aspect and the manipulator aspect that Slanesh and Zinch represent. As chaos gods, which the Eldar are partly responsible for, at least. So yeah, it's just one of those things. What can I say? But yeah, One Last Laugh Encore Edition is a great song. I love it to bits. Actually, it's funny because basically the first half of the song is the original song, and the Encore Edition part to it means that there was it was uploaded as a new video with an added part to it after people loved the first half of it. And it speaks to the. It's a really clever twist where the songwriter writes in the audience of the song's first half into the second song second half of the song, um, basically. Um, and it's a really clever sort of little mind game to play and so on. I didn't pick it up myself, that's why I'm explaining it, but like, it's still pretty cool. It's a great song, what can I say? It's like, it's just one of those great songs, and the thing behind it is really great. And then another one's called Curtain Call, which is about Slanesh and Chegarak singing a duet, arguing over who's going to take a solitaire soul, which is like a harlequin, which is an actor slash combatant for the laughing god, like a jester or clown outfit with special weapons, and who does plays. And the solitaire is the one guy who represents the Slanesh Prince of Excess, thirsting god. And his soul is in the balance between Slanesh and Chegarak, and they're both singing a song trying to get the solitaire on their side, basically, for eternity, basically. Which truth was lie and which was vow? The curtain calls take your bow or something. Take your bow. The curtain the curtain calls take your bow. Which truth was lie? Which was vow? For which god or supernatural deity you support, the laughing god or the thirsting god. But that's like the line between debauchery and tasteful nudity. For instance, lines that thing between pornography and art, basically. And yeah. So there's a little bit of reference to the fact that there's a thin line between the theatrical and the degenerate. That's one of the reasons why I love the Laughing God representation, because I understand that line between performative and degenerate stuff, and how performance can be a reality or something in a way, in sort of a Jonathan Pajot follow the fool kind of thing, where he mentioned basically in 2016 or 2018 Kanye West was going to show the way of the world's direction a little bit in some ways, and then Kanye released his latest song, which if I were to Warhammer 40k-ify it, it would be Monkey Chow Segarak, or Chow Chegarak. Monkey Chow Chegarak, which means human, hello, God. And if you know what hailing someone means, it means saying hello. So imagine a German mid-century god in the 1900s, and that's Chegarak, and black N-word, but with an A instead of a hard R, is Monkey. And it's like, it's just kind of a stupid little rhyme, but hey, I'm liking it. I'm happy with my mid-wit status, I guess. But anyways, like I said, that song and the Little Manic episode kind of made me think of all that Avatar 3 and the likely hubbub around it, and it made me go, it's also tiresome. I'm tired of the same old stuff and the same old dance, and how we just keep going through the motions, and it's also simplistic compared to what I'm used to and what I want to hear. And like, it's not just the left, it's going to be the right as well doing some of those things that I mentioned, and it's going to be like, yeah, okay, I know this is how it goes and whatever, I'm bored of it now. Anyways, that's my predict. At least that's what I'm predicting for Avatar 3. I could be very wrong about this, but I've seen some of his later movies, and it's kind of like it's getting to be kind of tropey and samey and like unoriginal, and sort of like it's leftist coded, but it's trying to be nuanced in the leftist coded way, and it's like predictable, but also the slop right and the duality of man bros, and like the simple-minded versions of the duality of mind bros and the simplistic slop right, and not just the leftist slop in general is predictable, but it's all three of them are going to be predictable in their own way. They're all going to claim Avatar 3 in some way or another, basically, and it's just going to look really boring because I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen already. What can I say? I'm not bragging exactly. I'm just kind of going like I really think it's going to happen this way, and I'm really pissed off that I can predict it if I do accurately, because like I'm tired of the same simplified takes that don't get anywhere reasonable, and I feel like I can actually predict that for Avatar 3. And it's like, okay, show me something I haven't seen before, please. And that's what I like the Chegarak thing about, because One Last Laugh is actually like a really original song. And like Curtain Call by Endless Taverns as well. One Last Laugh, Encore Edition, and Curtain Call by Endless Taverns, both of them are like super cool, I think. And I was just thinking about like, yeah, if I can predict everything that's going to happen around something, then maybe it just is stupid. Everyone involved is stupid. It's kind of what it comes down to almost in a way or something. I mean, not necessarily, but like it's reasonably basic and like surface level stuff, basically. So it's like, okay. Maybe I'm just advancing in understanding of phenomena and societal mores and so on. I don't know. But I'm treated occasionally by bits of really interesting tidbits that I haven't heard before or known about. And then a lot of the stuff I go through is like constantly like the same old thing over and over again, and I'm getting tired of it. And I'm like, I want originality, I want art, I want culture, I want something that makes me feel for real once. You know what I mean? I'm watching like Warfare, the 2024-2025 movie, and it made me feel things, and I'm like, I don't like these feelings, but at least it's feelings at all, and that's better than numbness. So it's kind of a perpetual problem I've had over the years and so on. So I know it's not going away, and there's sort of a phrase, "Nothing's new under the sun," but at the same time, there is new things under the sun in terms of pure nuance and so on. It's just it doesn't get explored very often, and that's what I'm kind of frustrated with, because I got the internet and I got the access to the entire world's information, and some of it just sounds pretentious. Maybe I'm pretentious, but that's why I'm making this prediction ahead of time to sort of go, well, at least I got enough insight to predict the duality of man bros, the right-wing reaction, and the leftist Avatar 3 general storyline, and so on. If I do, I don't know if I do, but I'm not even hedging my bets. I'm putting it out there as a prediction so that I get more clout if I turn out to be right.